Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we'll be watching more of Super Eyepatch Wolf's The Bizarre World of Fake Video Games, which also seems to coincide with the world of, oh my god, why isn't this a real video game? There have been so many examples he's pulled up that look so freaking good that if someone just completely went to this person, stole their idea, or hired them, which is probably a better option, it would make an amazing game that I would probably throw more money at than I really shouldn't. So for my own wallet, I probably shouldn't be upset that this isn't real. But that aside, I am looking forward to this. Also because someone in the last video went and said, hey, Airier, after you watch this, I went, saw the entire video, and you are not ready. And I completely disagree. Saying I'm not ready would imply that I could enter a state of ready. We all know that is not possible. Yeah. More importantly, you guys know, link below video, hit it up. Let's get started.
And particularly in a fake video game like Ghostbleed. Ghostbleed exists entirely as a YouTube cutscene compilation for a game that, of course, does not exist. And from its goofy, low-poly character models to its
that's PS1.
ridiculous live-action cutscenes with dialogue.
What the?
Character models to its ridiculous.
Okay, we have reached full-on 90s. I don't even know what this would be 90s, but it has so much 90s vibe. Not just the polygon aspect, but it's just the person who has pole, ice. Yeah, because we have shoulder pads with a glowing light and the Rambo scarf and the... It's one step away from something I don't think I am allowed to say on YouTube and remain advertiser friendly. As opposed to actually every other video where I definitely am. Wow. Also, that means people... Wait, did these actually live acted, or does someone just really good at animate things that look real without being high quality?
Live action cutscenes with dialogue that is about as awkward as me trying to buy some eggs. That will make sense later.
Where is everyone? There are plenty of dead people, but no living people to explain why.
I don't know if I absolutely love or hate this. I need to hear that again.
There are plenty of dead people, but no living people to explain why.
That is a very good performance of a very bad performance. Sorry, this is something when it comes to voice acting I'm actually obsessed with. Because it's someone who clearly is doing the right articulation of their voice to get the context in. But the context is, I am intentionally being bad at my job. It's always fascinating because being bad at your job is being bad at your job. And a lot of voice actors, my level and worse, which apparently is a thing somehow, do that. I'm not a voice actor, by the way. So when I say worse than me, yeah, you could find a lot of that on YouTube. If only because of my quality at that point. Not the skill used. I don't have any skill. But then you see this, and it's like, okay, no, they're doing the modulation. They have a good sound quality. It looks like if they were just saying something better, this would be good. But then the line itself is so stupid. It's a really flat delivery, too. And just listen to this and tell me this doesn't sound like someone is trying their hardest to not do their best. But it's actually a level of skill that you can sound this bad intentionally while you know better.
There are plenty of dead people, but no living people to
It's just something I'm obsessed with.
Maybe they shopped till they dropped.
You joke, but I've actually seen people do that.
You don't
Black Friday.
need me to tell you that Ghostbleed is a lampooning of the original PlayStation 1 Resident Evil. But if it just stopped
Only
there,
Resident Evil?
I wouldn't be talking about it. What I love about Ghostbleed is that rather than being straight up ridicule, there is here a palpable love of the hardware and limitations of that era of games.
I mean, admittedly, if I was playing a game with this level of skill put into it and it looked like this in the 90s, I would think this is the most cutting-edge video game I've seen yet. It has voice acting. I mean, I know it's YouTube videos, but if it had this kind of voice acting with this clarity, with this much motion going around that you can zoom in on that much and still look good, I'd love it.
I'm looking for my daughter. Rita, have you seen her? She looks like this.
Something you can see in not just the low-poly, aliased, and pixelated visuals, but in how Ghostbleed obsesses with capturing the mechanics and aesthetics of that era. There are big glowing item pickups, there are codec calls, there's even...
Oh god, what did they just jump into? Yeah, and they put it into a very descriptive snake-esque, and... yeah, it's somehow... it's so 90s over the top. And yeah,
There's even fake PS1 CD reading noises as its fake cutscenes load.
Seriously?
Incredible!
I mean, I know he's saying it's incredible, but legitimately, I actually forgot all about that. I started on a PS2 and I only got PS1 stuff that was backwards compatible because I didn't have video games for the longest time. RIP Dreamcast. Yeah. But I just... this is a level of detail I absolutely love.
Kind of innocence, one that's not only palpable in the big, blocky, oblivious faces of its characters, but in their personalities, in their complete lack of understanding of the danger they're actually in.
Ouch!
Officer Rodriguez! Are you hurt?
And I really
I love whoever is doing this. The voice acting, I need to check this out. I need to check this out. It's so stupid. I could almost imagine that this is made by someone who had a hand in old movies like Airplane or the Scary Movie franchise before it decided to devolve into every other possible lampoon they could do, which really didn't seem as good. I just... the guy's missing half his mind. Yes, please. Man, I need to check this out.
It's easy to look back at the original Resident Evil now and see it as this outdated relic of survival horror's past.
But
what this was a group of developers given technology and creative capacity that would have been unimaginable
because they were not actually reacting to scary shit.
The shaky wobbles of those first footsteps everywhere in this game, from the goofy live-action cutscenes to its immortally awkward.
Wait, they actually had those in Resident Evil 1? Okay, that
voice acting, and yeah, it's silly.
It was voice acted.
But it also teams with the innocent ambition of a group of people really learning to do something for the first time, and it is that innocence that Ghostbleed captures so beautifully, to the point that it becomes more than a parody. It becomes this kind of uncanny piece of nostalgia, and in terms of fake video games,
a ghost teaching class.
Nostalgia.
What is this?
Ghostbleed is just the beginning. There's this video called PS2 with my friends in 2001.
What?
And it shows 4 boys experiencing a PlayStation 2 for the first time. And goddamn, everything about this video, from the game...
Dude, can you imagine when you could actually plug 4 controllers into a system? Everything I just said hurts me on a physical level. Yeah, let's just move on. Wow, that got dark.
Games they play, including the Zone of Enders demo disc of Metal Gear Solid 2,
Oh,
easily the most 2001
Sons of
piece of
Liberty.
media in existence, to the box TV they play
Yeah,
on, to even just the console resting on the cream carpet below it.
I mean, I had to start moving mine there because if you ever put it anywhere else and it had cords on those controllers, you would rip it out and it would fall to the ground. Every time I was a kid, my parents intended that the best way to have a PS2 was having it mounted above the TV and not held in place. And then you needed to sit 7 feet away on a controller that's 8 feet long. So if you move at all, you rip the system out of the housing. I will also say the PS2, for completely unrelated reasons, can survive multiple crashes before it has any problems running. And by crashes, I mean physically dropping it from a height of 6 feet. No reason. I just that's just random knowledge I have that I have not any reason to know.
Remember this. I have been these people. This
Yeah.
video
Hell, I
is
think
a
my
time
parents
machine.
had that couch.
This kind of content is typically called
Well, it's more
nostalgia core.
cat
Images,
eating, but-
videos, and even sounds designed to bring you back to a specific time and specific place in a way that can
Dude.
be comforting, uncanny, and often deeply liminal. The aesthetics of old video games are a huge part of nostalgia core for reasons that I'm going to trust
Wind
you
Waker.
understand at this point in the video.
Okay, he's talking about nostalgia. I'm just looking at this. My God. Phantom Menace, Spider-Man, Wind Waker on a GameCube, the actual GameCube, the Livestrong bracelets before Lance Armstrong came out as, well, I mean, what everyone expected probably, that he was doping. And it's like, oh no, shocking. Oh wow. The old box TV that's admittedly shit, but it has a DVD player in it, so it's like super hardcore.
But where things start to get wild is when people take those nostalgic scenes and rebuild them through the mechanical context and visual language of old video games, creating the illusion that these worlds are now being crammed through a PS1.
So are these filters people can apply and then touch up to make it look digital? Because this is obviously real pictures that are then digitized and given a wibble effect. I'm not sure what the actual lining effect going sideways is, or why it's going sideways and not up and down, because I thought that's how it usually does it. Whatever, still though.
Even using UI like item menus and save screens, as well as popular fonts from old video games.
The Wii counts as
all
old?
filtering through what looks like these screen tears and scanned lines of old burnt out monitors. And the result is these hyper nostalgic uncanny worlds, places...
Oh yeah, because how sometimes items would move around when they didn't quite load in the exact right angle, so it looked like it was jumping. I remember that happening often.
Have never been games
in
you
Skyrim
have never played
last week.
Feels so familiar and even comforting. In a lot of these pieces, there's a kind of longing, a yearning for some lost part of your past. Like these places used to be a part of you, but it's...
I mean, admittedly, I don't yearn for this time period because being a kid sucked. But I do like a lot of the things that happened at that time period.
At some point, they disappeared from your life.
Okay, no, that never disappeared. They are still there, probably the same employees with the same regulars. It does not end. Waffle House is a franchise that will probably outdate the American system. And I don't mean America, the United States. I mean North America, potentially South America as well. In fact, I expect Waffle House will survive beyond this planet. We will have the lasting legacy of humanity in the stars is a Waffle House. If it has alien customers, I don't know. But there'll be one person there, some AI running their shift going, hey, welcome to Waffle House. Don't start shit. We know where the nunchucks are. Because at some point, it's so stupid, nunchucks will be the preferred weapon. Why do I believe this? Because it's such a stupid meme. Someone's going to take it for legitimate fact. Like most things people do.
And now, years have gone by. You're older,
I mean, that's just Genshin right there.
And tired, but somehow in this moment you found your way back to this impossibly nostalgic
Do you want to rest here?
And it's okay to...
I know the joke is it's relaxing water and it's bright and it's sunny with the reflections and the sparkles and the GameCube's nice, but all I see is you are submerging a GameCube in water. This is like asking someone to bathe with a toaster, except you actually don't want to lose the toaster either. Also, on an unrelated note, my wife found bath bombs in the shape of a toaster. I've been told those are things that dissolve in water to make it pretty and sparkly. And yeah, this isn't a joke. They exist. I've seen the video of the guy wrapping them. Yeah.
Rest. It's okay to enjoy life in that simple way.
So much Final Fantasy on that.
So long ago.
Is that a dolphin?
And man, I get it.
Yeah.
I miss how the light hits a cracked PS1 case as a Linkin Park CD skips gently in the background. The smell of Domino's pizza cardboard filling the room as you and your friend play Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Affording Domino's pizza, that's... Yeah, that ain't gonna happen again.
You never realized it at the time, but those were the simplest moments of your entire life, and they're gone now. Now, you pay taxes. Now, a good 40% of conversations you have are you asking questions about things that you will never care about.
Wait, that's not most conversations? Have I been doing it wrong? Because I'll be honest, most conversations are blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about shit I don't care about, blah, blah. And then I ignore them and walk away because I honestly don't care. And I don't want to give the impression that they should continue. I'm an asshole. Do most people actually put on the front as if they care? That seems even ruder somehow.
You drink too much coffee because you don't sleep right, and somehow that makes...
I'm down to only 7 cups. I wish that was a joke. I wasn't expecting to be called out so hard on this one.
Makes sense to you. Remember Zach Morris, star
Who?
of 90s youth comedy Saved by the Bell and
oh, yeah.
generational
No,
symbol of boyhood rebellion?
Nope.
Well, he's 50 and he looks like this now.
God damn! No, can we just acknowledge here? This is a glow up, man.
Rebellion? Well, he's 50.
Okay, 1, 50, damn. 2, I think it looked better. He's doing better. This is an improvement. This looks like someone you want to punch in the face on principle. And this is looking like someone who I am not jealous of his beard with, no matter how much I am legitimately jealous of his beard. How do you get it to do that? Every time mine gets any longer than this, it decides gravity is optional and decides to grow sideways. I am so jealous.
And he looks like this now. You go to the shop to buy some eggs because omelets don't have a lot of calories, but the credit card machine isn't working, and the shop assistant says that you can just pay in cash, and you tell them that you don't have any cash, and then you both just stare at each other for the longest 5 seconds of your entire life.
Oh man, you just described like the last 3 nightmares I had. How the fuck is he doing this? It's like all the random adulting things that are super mundane but are legitimately real, and I hate this. This is twice in the span of 5 minutes that I'm just getting called out. Accurately.
And you clarify that you do have cash. It's just that it's just in the ATM. So you walk to the back of the shop, but for some reason
you don't know how to use an
ATM
ATM
says your credit card isn't activated, and you don't know what that means. And so you turn around and you
because you need a debit card, and you basically should never actually use a debit card anywhere, because there's so many people who just installed scans because people are assholes and they do that, and you're never really sure if it's a good place or a bad place until someone decides to buy $700 of cheesecake in a completely different state that you've not been in for a decade. And the biggest problem there is that you didn't get any cheesecake out of it.
You just start walking out of the shop, but as you do, your gaze once again collides into the vacant, distant stare of the shop assistant. And you're still walking, but now you're both just staring at each other, and it feels weird. And then you just feel the words crawl out of your mouth. See you later. And the confused, empty look on the shop assistant's face haunts you the entire rest of the day, until it's 3 a.m. and you're awake on the shitter clutching your phone because you drank too much fucking coffee. And one of these animations floats onto screen, and for a moment it's like, yeah, that please. I would like to go back to that.
Yeah, I get it now. All joking aside, early on I was like, it's nostalgia, but it can't be that strong. And then he just... Sometimes I get people's points. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes they explain it to a point where what I don't get becomes understandable. Here, it's not so much understanding it, but that I viscerally feel everything he just said, and I hate every second of it. So I'm kind of hoping he goes to one of those relaxing, hey, remember when you didn't have to adult moments? Because that's what that is. This is not fake video games. This is, hey, adulting sucks. Here's a break. But it hurts because it's only a break. I love and hate this, but also it's just pain right now.
I would really like that. Some of you are too young to understand what I'm talking about.
Nope, I'm not.
You will. Mechanical
That's a
context
threat and a
what
promise.
Makes a fake video game feel real. And so tying this back to Imagining Project, while it's lighter on mechanical context than a lot of the other fake video games we've talked about it, you can still see it through button prompts on its menu, through controller layouts and its conversation mechanics, what looks like XP bars, in its visual novel-esque dialogue scenes. All just enough to nudge our brain into seeing video game. This is how it was so convincing. Which brings us to our next question. Why did people...
We're only on the 3rd question? What is the appeal of consuming fake video games? I think we just covered it. It's both nostalgia and the fan drive to engage with a process that they just don't have anything else to do on. That's why fan fiction's so big. But I'm sure there's more to it than that.
People want to believe this. What is the appeal of experiencing a game you cannot play from an audience perspective? And to
Same thing as spoilers,
that
right?
question, we must once again delve into the murky waters of games past. Hello! This seems to be the perfect time to tell you about my new media book club style podcast, Versus Wolves, in which myself and my friend
I think I've seen this come up on my timeline.
Enhance/ruin each other's lives with different media-based recommendations that you can follow along with.
Wait, do they just do any recommendation they get? I mean, someone definitely did Boku no Pico on this one, because it's the stupid meme of, oh god, why?
Each episode sprinkled with stories from our personal
Still better
lives.
than My Hero Academia.
Like the time I ended up at a
you know it's
strip
shit from the
club
beginning.
and all the dancers made fun of me. That was 3 months ago.
Complete failure versus fear and hunger. I don't know what complete failure is, but why are there just 3 pictures of the same lady? Guy, pretty boy, pretty man, pretty lady. I honestly have no idea.
I have not recovered. Here's my co-host Wooly, whom I have allocated 4 seconds to convince you of the merits of this podcast.
Yeah, no, so, well, we kind of...
Haha, great job, Wooly. Link in the description. Now, back to whatever the fuck I was talking about. What you're looking at here is a poster / piece of box art /
Double Dragon 2, The Revenge? Oh, I think I've heard of Double Dragon, but wasn't that like a 90s TV cartoon or something? Didn't know it had a game. Oh, maybe that's the fake part.
Magazine advertisement for the game Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. And as you can see, it is a work of fucking art. From the dynamic composition that drags your eyes through this world of violence and romance, to the neon skyscraper punctuated skyline it's set against, to the logo stated with such brazen graphic boldness, it might as well say motherfucker at the end. All combining into this image that is some
official
heavenly
Nintendo seal
fusion
of
of
quality.
every 80s action movie poster. You try beholding this box art as a child in a game shop in 1989 and not break down into tears of raw desire.
I just realized this is what it reminds me of. It's like going into an old-timey record store and seeing the band posters from the 50s and going, oh yeah, that style is super nostalgic for people who think CDs are a newfangled contraption. This is what I meant. I am now the old fogey who looks at old posters like, oh yeah, that is a style that looks hand-drawn. You can see all the lines where it's shadings in, and honestly, it's still amazing, but it's definitely a very different style.
So desperate are you to enter this world, to become the Double Dragon. Now imagine that feeling when you slam the cartridge into your Nintendo Christmas morning and you experience this.
Wait, is this a real game? Oh, wow, that is disappointing. Still would have played it.
My point here is really not to talk shit about the graphics of a 30-year-old game, but just to point out that the world presented by this poster and the actual experience of Double Dragon 2 were quite
this
different.
is the real game?
This used to be
That makes it
really
much more
common.
disappointing.
Because of the limited capabilities of hardware, companies would have to build an idea of a game and its world in the viewer's mind in order to sell them on it. And
That's the marketing for Zelda at the time? Holy shit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Zelda holds up as a game. But this, at some point, this is not even advertising, it's just fan art.
it meant there was a kind
Even
of
if it is official.
abstraction happening when you played games. You as the player accepted that this 17-pixel tall man was really just a representation of this radical dude. In other words, companies would use secondary media to flesh out a game's characters and world
What the
to
hell?
give players a better idea of the experience they were meant to be having in
What
a way
game
that
is
the
that?
hardware
Ninja
didn't
Sword?
allow. And this secondary media came in so many
Dino
cool forms.
City?
Magazine ads, box art, gaming walkthroughs, even the sides of arcade cabinets. But probably the best known pieces of secondary media for games were manuals. Often gorgeous.
Oh, dude, I haven't actually played the first Secret of Mana, but I think I played a like Game Boy era second one, which was perfectly fun and enjoyable. But damn, I forgot all about game manuals because you just go online now and look at them. Manuals, I think you can still buy them now, but it's more of a collector piece, if only because you don't know they exist unless you're intentionally collecting them.
Gorgeously designed little paper tomes packed in with games that in the time before
In with
wikis
games?
and
Wait,
online
what?
fan communities were these treasure troves of additional information, context, and lore about the worlds you were meant to be experiencing.
Wait, these weren't actually the ones you bought? What was in the game?
And coming with these really elaborate illustrations and even world maps. Some, like the Link to the Past walkthrough, even having these intricately designed little illustrations of every piece of equipment in the game.
That's so cool.
Famously, the Earthbound manual was a full-on in-universe travel guide with photographs and artwork of its different locations, fake newspaper articles.
This is brilliant. I mean, I get why people don't do it anymore because money. But it looks so cool.
Written by its characters reacting to the events of the story, and even photos of these beautifully made little plasticine models of nearly every character and enemy in the game. So ask yourself, why does this exist? And sure, you could argue it was a packed-in game guide because Nintendo was terrified the West wouldn't understand what the fuck Earthbound was.
And they were right, because I don't think they ever had any games after that.
But I think it's more than that. I think this was designed to help create an image of this world beyond what was possible in the game. So if you've ever looked back at old survival horror games and wondered how people found them so pants-shittingly terrifying, this is a big part of it. As a
yeah, can you imagine finding this scary? I definitely would. Yeah. Moving on.
Player, you accepted that when you played these games, you weren't seeing this.
Is it biting her or is she killing it?
You weren't seeing this. You were seeing this. You weren't seeing this. You were seeing this.
That was so
Sorry. I don't know how that got in there. That was the power.
I think we know how it came to be.
To create a wider world beyond.
But the splash screen right after it too.
And I think there was a real art to that. Which is why I think it's such a shame that ever-increasing graphical fidelity meant that we stopped needing secondary media in games. But it leaves us with an interesting question.
I disagree with what he said, that it's due to the fidelity you have secondary media. I think it's due to price. I don't think any of the quality of the game has any reflection. If you did a super cheap game right now, they still wouldn't do that. Even if it would use a secondary media, I think just because game creation has been streamlined and, let's use the correct term, cheapened to the point where no profit is sent if it doesn't explicitly require it. It's why some of the people working on games are absolutely burned the shit out of them. And I sometimes mean that in the metaphorical sense of they're just burned out at the job, or the literal sense that one of the games would usually, I'm thinking of specific Bioware companies, involves so much crunch that if you lit your hair on fire, you would just be igniting caffeine because your body is 90% of that at this point. If you drank a beer, you couldn't swallow it because including more fluid in your body would be physically impossible. You are literally the paradox of, is this person still alive, or are all the pieces of caffeine shaking in the way that they would if they were alive? And the answer is, I don't know at that point. There's a reason I have not gone into game writing. Mostly because I'm a very slow writer. But also because I then learned how those people were treated and was terrified to get into that.
Question. What happens when you create secondary media for a game that does not exist?
Ooh.
Apple Quest Monsters DX exists as a manual for a game
claymation?
that is not real, chronicling a fake RPG where the player battles and collects Pokemon-style monsters.
How long did this come out? About a month ago? Yeah, that's Pal World time. I'm wondering, it couldn't, but would it? Hear me out. What they're describing is basically Pal World, right? I wonder if the people responsible were aware of this.
It has a fake world map, fake screenshots, and even has a cover that uses plasticine models similar to the Earthbound travel guide. Which makes sense as its
Probably not. It
creator,
seems like it's more they're just
Splendid
ripping
came to
Pokemon
the
than
idea
this.
from their childhood memories of reading old game guides for games they had never played, and the imaginary worlds those guides created. And what's so special about Apple Quest is how beautifully it captures that,
Is this
admittedly,
digital or
very
physical?
specific feeling.
I'm assuming
There's a
digital.
full-on gameplay section explaining that you, the player, have 9 star points, which you spend by reading through the game's massive 80 monster bestiary and selecting different monsters for your team. Each monster having its own type, attack, habitat, and star cost, meaning that it's up to you whether you want to spend your points on a large team of low-level monsters or blow it all on 1 or 2 ultra-powerful boss creatures.
Space thing. The boss, Chimera. And oh, he has eyes on his chest with a nose down there as well. Oh, dude.
And those
Neither
are
face
difficult
is aware of
decisions
each
because
other's
of
presence.
how compelling so many of these monsters are, featuring these gorgeously illustrated little sprites, as well as some genuinely excellent character descriptions.
Number 10. Normal bird. Ever since it became a bird,
Oh, God. Sorry. I just had so many Pokemon flashbacks for that exact audio source. Just listen to this and don't think Doug Trio.
Descriptions.
Number 10. Normal bird. Ever since it became a bird, people have commented how much more confidence it has. It ate 400 birds to achieve this form.
My personal team
What
was
the
Apple
fuck?
Warrior, who cost a single star and is one of the weakest monsters in the game, but who I had to have because I needed to pair him with his rival, Carrot Warrior, who, if we're being real, is just Vegeta, but a carrot. Next up is Mr. Enigma, who is really only there because he frightens me. And
Is that a Teletubby, but like in 10 years after they got into some shady business dealings? Because what the hell, man?
I don't want him as an enemy. And rounding out my team with a pair of boss monsters, the Power Beetles,
Oh
a
my
pair
God.
of emotionally supportive lesbian bodybuilders, and I trust I don't need to explain that any further. Making your way through
Emotionally
Apple Quest
supportive?
Bestiary and selecting your team is how you experience Apple Quest, and that in itself is compelling, but what's awesome is the story that unfolds as you do. As you read through the Bestiary, the game throws in little narrative breadcrumbs, even foreshadowing the game's final boss, Orchard Guardian, 7 stars and strongest of all monsters. And
Oh.
you can feel that climax drawing near as you read further into the end game. The monsters growing more powerful and strange until finally, hey, spoilers for a game here that doesn't exist. Skip here to avoid. And
I'm just going to pause in case anyone happens to be watching the reaction before watching the original. 1, fix that. 2, I'm just going to do a little pause here. Pause done. If you're still here, neat. But also, can I just acknowledge that if I saw something that didn't look pixelated and it had this exact guy in it, I would be screaming and trying not to puke my guts out because every second of this is terrifying.
also, people should buy this. It's on itch.io. It's
actually something you could buy?
$2.50, and it's better than most actual.
You could buy this book in physical printed form. That is amazing. At this point, this isn't even a fake video game. It's a real source of media that is absolutely amazing. And frankly, you could probably make a game out of it on the digital side by just copy and pasting the teams and just giving them stats. It wouldn't be the dumbest thing I've seen, so it's not even impossible.
Games I've played. You reach the Orchard Guardian,
He's dead.
who has been murdered by little Apple Warrior, his own weakness driving him mad, creating a lust for power, only for his best friend and rival Carrot Warrior to try and stop him before he's transformed into the Lord of Eden, a 12-star power monster.
Are we basically just watching Undertale before Undertale? Because this feels like Undertale.
Only to be defeated by you and your team and forgiven by his best friend Carrot Warrior, the final monster of the database being the 2 spirits ascending to heaven together, because no matter what you become, there's always still a trace of the person you were, and the people that really love you will see that. God, I need to go back to therapy. What's special about Apple Quest is how thoroughly it creates the illusion of a real game world, and primarily not even through mechanical context like we've been.
You know, there's actually a type of writing that's very similar to this format, where you're given something that is explicitly not real, not just in the fiction sense, but in the journal sense. There are entire novels written as if they're someone's diary or their journal, and it's found media that you're just reading through someone's private notes. So you have a very personal look at their type of thought. And it's a very similar process what we're seeing here with a manual, but you're getting the entire novel in the form of the story from the various choose your own character setup. I love this. Unironically, this is a very nuanced take of writing that most people don't do because it takes a lot of mental process to set up what you're doing instead of just pounding out a story, which is still hard. But this is so much more back end and front end work before you even put any words down, because you have to know, okay, here's the story we're doing. Here's how we're going to structure it. Here's how it's going to progress. Here's how the art is going to imply with that. And you can figure that out later. But it's just, I'm actually super impressed by anyone who could do this level of work. This is brilliant.
Talking about, but by building a game through the supplementary material of the games manual. Apple Quest not even being the only fake video game that does this.
It's just cool.
There are others, like
fake
Fever Nights,
really?
a game that exists purely through an official walkthrough for a game that, once again, it's not real.
I mean, admittedly, this just looks like Scott Pilgrim to me.
Or
like, it doesn't, but it does.
One step further, Bird World, a fake RPG that exists not only through a beautifully illustrated fake manual.
Is this where the meme "Burbs aren't real" came from? I don't know. I don't want to find out. That's just way too recursive stupidity on that one.
Like Apple Quest, featuring location art, NPCs, party member profiles, including how to recruit them, and
my
even
wife
a
would love
level up
this.
table showing what attacks they learn when, but also through a full
sword art. I guess they're not online for this one because it's a sneak and a snack. Ooh, yeah.
Composed
just
soundtrack covering the entire fictional span of Bird World, suggesting everything from a non-existent opening menu with its fake title theme to even an ending title crawl with the melancholy piano of its final track, Goodbye Bird World. The combination of both Bird World's manual and its soundtrack combining into a powerful image of
Do people actually make audio for this
would
too?
be an RPG rooted in the era of the Super Nintendo. This was an innocent, hopeful time for role-playing games.
Dude, I remember these games. I got a few of them that were ported over to the first, or I think it was Game Boy Color at that time. And they were cool.
That were often less about stopping whatever world-ending threat that the plot hung on,
and just exploring.
And more just exploring a gigantic, colorful, and weird world. And
admittedly, that's probably one of the reasons I still like Genshin, because even if the story was terrible early on, which I'm still moving through, I just liked exploring the world. I just like general exploring games. It's also one of the reasons I can't do Breath of the Wild, because it requires skill to not die, and I suck at that part.
Joy of discovering what waited there. Bird World, with its laid-back soundtrack and colorful art,
it's probably the same kind of vibe of Animal Crossing, huh?
As a concept gets kind of insane is that this fake video game also has a fake sequel.
What?
As games advanced from the Super Nintendo era to the PS1, maturing audiences as well as evolving hardware meant that RPGs took a darker, more introspective.
Oh, dude, this one, Xenogears. I know this game. I have this game behind me somewhere. I never could beat it because it went off the rails and then my file got corrupted when I don't know how it did. I can't play it anymore. But dear God, man, sorry. I love this game so much. I'm getting so much hype seeing this.
Turn with games like Xenogears, Final Fantasy 7 and 8, or Kadelka, often taking place in these grim worlds whose problems were more complex than any one single threat.
Yeah.
And what is so special about Return to Bird World is that it takes that evolution of RPGs and works it into its story, taking place 1,000 years after Bird World, but now the colorful, lighthearted universe has suffered a great calamity.
Dude, I already love this art style so much. Like, I knew I would like it because I genuinely love this style of intro splash screen where it's pseudo colorized. It has a very obviously 3D and digitally modeled version, but then it almost looks hand drawn behind it but cleaned up. I love this aesthetic so much.
Works it in a far bleaker feeling game, an evolution you can see in everything.
Beautiful, though.
From the artwork of the manual, which has gone from these soft, exaggerated, cartoonish characters to sharp angle designs that.
But it's still cool! And I'll be honest, this is the most Final Fantasy art I've seen that is completely not Final Fantasy. If you told me this was a tactics game character in the background, I would believe it.
More in line with the illustration work of Tetsuya Nomura. It's
for example, the guy who did Final Fantasy. I'm pretty sure, and if it's not, well, that's egg on my face.
Simple, flat landscapes now bathed in shadow, but most impressively, listen to how this same evolution is conveyed in the Return to Birdworld soundtrack. Here's the theme of Enoki Village from Birdworld 1, which I have to keep talking over or this video will get copyright struck. But
wait, these are actually real soundtracks for the fake game? Someone actually made it.
Hear what a jaunty tune it is. And here is Enoki Village's theme from Birdworld 2. And oh dear, listen to that despair. Listen to this place now desolate and hopeless. And while the soundtrack does keep some of the nautical absurdity from Birdworld 1, it also punctuates it with far darker tracks, like The World Descends into Chaos, whose metallic, discordant sound speaks to a planet pulling itself apart. The idea of bringing a game world to life through a soundtrack is so cool, but the crazy part is, Birdworld isn't even the only fake game that does this. Louis Zong's...
What the heck? Also, I don't know why, but is anyone else looking at this and going, oh yeah, reminds me of Gurren Lagann? Maybe it's just me, but it really does.
Boss Rush is an album of boss music for a game that, of course, isn't fucking real. It is great and it deserves its own section, but God, I keep discovering new fake video games, just like the games I talk about in this video. This video will never exist if I do not commit to just finishing it. Unlike the other fake video games we talked about, rather
how many of these are there?
A game might look or feel like, these games instead create the illusion of a game through secondary media. And that's exciting, and you can see how this applies to Imagining Project, a fake video game we experience only through a fabricated press leak, which creates this entire other layer of intrigue. What is this game on the other side of our limited viewpoint? And that can be a really fascinating question, and it brings us to one of the strangest and most mysterious fake video games in existence.
Before we move on, I just need to ask, did someone take this and maybe just make a fake of the fake game, so a real fake game? Because this seems like the kind of crazy amount of viewer engagement that requires you to be absolutely in love with the genre and with the source material to the point where you want to engage with something you know is not real. Well, at least now you know is not real. Because I'm sure this still has people who absolutely love this as a concept. With how many people have made games, I kind of expect someone has done this at this point. Basically, what I'm asking is, if any of the games he's gone over have been made into actual games, even just fan-made ones, of a fan fake game. Odd concept, but I'm just going to ignore that. Let me know, because I really want to know what is going on with this and see if there's any way to engage with it beyond just the, hey, here's something you can't play, to, hey, here's something that you shouldn't have played, but now exists and you can do that. Yeah. I don't know, but I kind of expect at least someone will know of one of these at least.
Over the extremely long course of making this video, I put a call out to my Twitter followers for fake video game recommendations, and as ever, my human-powered search engine did not disappoint.
Holy shit!
One of the most striking returns wasn't so much a fake video game as it was a single mysterious image. A picture of an old desolate house drawn in stark black and white pointillism, like it's being...
Am I the only one looking at this and going, hey, reminds me of Spiral? I don't like that.
Generated on some old beat-up processor. Its atmosphere thick with a subtle dread, and the text...
And just, like, there's stuff crawling out of the side with a hand and, like, tentacles and vines. Ugh.
You sense a presence somewhere in this room.
Yeah!
Proceed. Whatever this was, I wanted to see more.
Oh, this would be a stop-and-click game.
More didn't seem to exist. The only information I had to go off was a Tumblr tag, Ghost Gods, leading to a blog that no longer existed. Even when viewed through the Wayback Machine, it showed a page empty of artwork.
Oh.
It was frustrating, and I'll save you the tedious internet scavenger hunt that followed, but I did eventually find...
Whoa. Oh, this is trippy. I am getting the Garfield video vibes all over again.
An old archive blog of all Ghost Gods work, posted by Ghost Gods themselves, even detailing their reasons for deleting the original. And while I fully understand the pull to delete everything you've ever done and disappear from the internet, I think it's a real loss in this case. What really got me about that first image was the atmosphere, and my god, was that just the beginning. Within Ghost God's work, there were environments that captured everything.
Oh, the hands coming out?
Melancholy coziness to other.
Bit of a coffee, skull, dog, the top of some of the dentures. Honestly, if it's teeth or dentures, I'm not sure which is creepier.
There's an ambiguous.
The lock on the inside of the door, so. I mean, it makes sense, but you have to use the key to get out. So you'd be locked in.
Dread. Like something here
Go
is
away.
wrong.
No. Let's be completely honest here. I want that mat. I know my wife does for a fact, but she has actually requested that. I haven't been able to find it yet. I need to get on that.
You're just not quite sure what. Other pieces were more unsettling, some even showing these beautiful and horrific nightmare creatures.
What the
But
hell?
what really struck me about so many of these images was the vague sense that they were all part of some interconnected world, which you could see in series like these sketches, detailing some
like the little
horrific abandoned swimming pool, a building that seems to have grown some kind of bizarre sentience, its walls
Super Eyepatch Wolf has a real talent at asking his audience for things that are absolutely disturbing and then finding them, tracing these things to the point where there's just all this information I never knew existed.
pulsating with strange growths, organs dripping through its water
Slides, yeah.
parts of the building disappearing into
Teeth
gaping
and
maws
eyes.
and gnashing teeth.
And the eyes
love
inside
these
of it.
pictures. There's a real feeling of exploration in them. They don't feel super polished or finished. Instead,
They look like the background sketch you'd get for someone's TV shot or a game design level, which makes sense because it's fake video games, but god damn, I love this style of art where it's not the finished product, it's the sketch shot of what we're going to be looking for before the finished product. It's one of the reasons I really do like game manuals now, because you get a lot of art book stuff out of it.
like the
Although I think they're
development
mostly
of
just
an
art books
idea,
at this
something
point.
to be fit into a larger whole. Which is why you may find it unsurprising that there is also here posts illustrating loading screens, inventory menus, and contextual choices.
So it was a game
As
setup, yeah.
nestled deep within this deleted blog, there lies a fake video game.
Wait. He mentioned that this guy explained their reasoning for deleting this. I'm wondering if the reason for deleting it is they went on to work on something else. Because the biggest reason you would delete content is if you might run into legal issues by leaving it up, such as you happen to write a fan fiction story about Twilight and it got so popular you changed a bunch of names and then sold it under a completely unassuming title that nobody would confuse for the original. Like something, maybe just throwing out a bunch of numbers and the word shades, like 49 shades of off puce or something. I mean, can you imagine if that actually happened and they were in court for a very long time because they essentially did that? I mean, yeah.
Field Trip. What looks like a surreal Yume Nikki-like RPG Maker game in which the player
Kinda looks
is
like-
pulled deeper and deeper
Yeah,
into
Undertale
a
again.
bizarre world of strange environments.
But just way darker.
Given the nature of this archive,
more
it's hard
colorful.
to say for sure which pieces are part of Field Trip and which aren't, but even just the
Oh god, the walls are worms.
process of trying to figure that out is compelling. The feeling that through this deleted Tumblr, you are peering into this old forgotten world of a video game that never existed and trying to make sense of it.
I love
And
this,
there's
but it's
something
so
a little
creepy.
spooky about that, right?
Yeah, especially the
Like
deleted
walking
part.
around an abandoned house, nothing but the furniture, wallpaper, and decor.
Oh, that is disturbing. Can I just acknowledge, though, that the creepiest part about it isn't that you find this, but that you have to search for it because the initial content was deleted. So it's literally lost media of what is essentially fake lost media becoming real lost media. And the circular logic there is more that I'm going to circle around because I don't do that well. My head will explode.
Traces letting you know
Just moving through the
someone
stomach.
used to be here. But just like an old abandoned house, fake video games can create a tremendous amount of unease with one simple idea.
Oh?
What if you are not alone here? What if something is in here with you?
All of that is insane. And while Ghostface is the name we were given, I'm wondering, does anyone happen to know, or if it's a spoiler to know, who that guy is? Because it sounds like there's a story there, and I want to know why they deleted it. Because if they just, oh, it was just deleted, that's fine. But Super Eyepatch Wolf mentioned they put out a reason of why they deleted it. And then he didn't say the reason. I'm really hoping the surprise is, and then they released another game, and this is kind of material they might use, so they deleted it just so that it wouldn't account for spoilers that might get in the way of technically maybe getting into legal bullshit. Because when you release a game based on content you've publicly made available and you don't have full rights, so maybe there was someone else who bought into helping it, sometimes that's the thing. Or if you're hired into an entire company and this is part of the information that will be part of what they purchase, so you don't always have the rights to it anymore, so you can't leave them up. Is that the case? I don't know, but I want to believe it is, because I want to believe something this creative, this terrifying, was made into something more. Also, I would be absolutely terrified so it wasn't made into something more. It's probably letting me sleep easier at night, but and I'm definitely just focusing on this because all the talk he did about nostalgia and how adulting sucks, so all the nostalgia trip clips and videos were effective. That had no effect on me. I didn't feel called out at all. That never happened, and nothing about it is being repressed. Yeah. I'm fine. I didn't take that personally or feel intentionally called out accurately because it was true, and I don't. That's not the case. And for the 5 people who believe that, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I'm loving this though, and yeah, I was not ready for this. This is so much more detailed and creepy, but really cool than I was expecting. I love this. Oh, so I need to go adult. So reasons. Can you imagine if you had to stop doing things you enjoyed because you had to do adult things? Fun. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys know the deal. Link below video. If you haven't hit it up already, go do that. Also, because there's apparently tons of spoiler-related stuff that he's covering that I'm recovering and just getting all this cool information about things I need to look up. And if anyone can find out where I can find about that earlier bio horror game, I kind of want to find the entire videos about that because that look cool. If you know, let me know. If you don't, thanks anyways. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.